What's up, everybody? Dear Jonhson here. Thought I'd go live today like I always do on Sunday. So just wanted to, touch base on what's been going on. Been a great week. Been a great week. The past 3 weeks have been really awesome. Got my coffee here. Got my cool mug that was personally made just for me. Military laws and orders are not conspiracy theories. So I got my notes here because I used to not like notes, but since I want to be short and concise today, I haven't eaten all day, so I want to go get dinner tonight. But as always, like a beautiful broken record, have to remind everybody you're watching an operation. Alright, 45-47, the dash matters. I coined that. Right, so the dash matters. This is the whole operation. Now, it's not going to end right here per se, but you have to look at it as if that has brackets around it like this. It's hard to do like that, but you have to look at it like that. The whole thing is an operation. All of it. Alright, and President Trump, one, he's an outsider, wasn't a politician. Alright, straight up outsider. So you have to ask yourself, why didn't this happen in history before? Alright, not knocking Ronald Reagan. Alright, not knocking the old school guys, but why didn't this happen before? And also, how did they let it fester to this point? Well, it wasn't them. It wasn't just them. It was you. It may not have been you specifically, but it was the people. Because the people forgot knowing what they're knowing. If you've watched me the last 3 years, which August 24, 2022 will mark my third anniversary of being known to the people who know me for what I do. Well, if you've noticed, you'll see me get attacked by low IQ, incompetent, and very lazy, but also jealous people, depending on who they are and what they are. Well, the liberals wouldn't be losing their minds right now if there wasn't something unique and different taking place that's never been done before. All right, they wouldn't be losing their minds this bad if it weren't for President Donald John Trump. But he had to do it lawfully. Lawfully. All right, so if you want to know what's different, then you need to know what's going on, what's taking place. But he didn't do it as a regular president. He didn't do it as an outsider just because, he had some cool things to say and you resonated with it. That's not the case. The swamp's always been there. The deep state, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, the rhinos, the dinos, all of them, Republican, Democrat, swamp, rats, they've always cheated in elections. Always. On local level, state level, and federal, presidential. But also your U.S. representatives and senators. They've always cheated. Always. So you need to know what separates President Donald John Trump from everybody else. There was a line drawn in the sand. November the 8th, 2016. That line was visually shown to you. All right, that date in history puts a line in the sand, as did any other line in the sand, but especially like the famous line that you've heard about the Alamo. All right, there was a line drawn in the sand by William Barrett Travis, Alabama boy. All right, hero of the Alamo, commander of the Alamo, line drawn in the sand. So everything from that line, even though you could say, yes, June 16, 2015, when President Trump rolled down the escalator, that was a line also, but the more action, meaning like it went into action on November the 8th, 2016, which was the election. And then when it really went into go time, as what you call go time and no turning back, was January the 20th, 2017. And there was a visual shown to you you've never seen before in history. That visual was the military walking down behind President Trump with specific headbands. All right, insignia, as we call it in the military, which signifies who they belong to, what unit they're with. military intelligence, and judge advocate general. The only three things that were consistent, uno, dos, tres, three things that were consistent with quote-unquote Joe Biden, who was not real, which was an old military tactic, puppet government, puppet states, been used in the 40s, all right, government in exile, all special operations, all unconventional warfare, all irregular warfare. It's all lawful, though. It's all in our law books. If it weren't lawful, then why did the deep state cabal let it stay in the law books? All right. If it wasn't lawful, they should have what? Abolished that law. Abolished those tactics. Abolished those strategies. They didn't do that. So, again. So, when you look at quote-unquote Joe, it wasn't real. All right. So, in order to validate, or whatever you want to call it, you have to go read those laws and orders. You have to go read those tactics and see what took place. All right, so all this stuff that's been taking place. Excuse me, I got something in my eye. Had to be done lawfully. All right, and President Trump could not have done this as a regular guy, a regular president. Or there are unique laws and orders that have been put into place. And that line in the sand that was drawn, November 8th. So the only three things, again, that were consistent with quote-unquote Joe. You have to know laws and orders first. But the only three things that was displayed consistent with quote-unquote Joe that whole time you thought Joe was president were three things. It sounds like four, but it's only three. Military intelligence, judge advocate general, and psychological operations and civil affairs. Those sound like two separate, but they're not when it comes to insignia, when it comes to unit base. So, what you've been witnessing the whole time. Now, you'll hear people say, or like we had a comment this week, oh, you show no proof, you're a grifter. All right, grifter, that term grifter is from deep state and or incompetent, jealous idiots. We're in a capitalist market, all right, we're in a capitalist society. All right, the whole United States is capitalism, which sets up for entrepreneurs. All right, so you can have a video go viral, or you can have a book that blows up, a cookbook, or this book or that book. Whatever it is, it's the land of the free for a reason. It's also a home of what? Entrepreneurs, where you can be anything you want to be if your story or message resonates with people. All right. So anyone who uses the term grifter when we are a capitalist market, either they love or want communism, Marxism, and all the other things that would suppress you and oppress you and constrain you, or they're just jealous and they're idiots. All right, so there's that. So the proof, when you hear people, see people, now the reason why I address this, it don't bother me personally. People will comment, oh, don't let it work. It don't bother me. Listen, it don't bother me. The reason why it matters is you'll have people, though, that do feed off negativity in the comment box. All right, those are the people we're trying to get to. So when people see negativity, they feed off of that. They feed off drama and propaganda. That's the very thing we're draining is the swamp. The reason why that matters is because of the pull that it has, the effect that it has in the comment boxes. All right, it doesn't bother me personally. The reason why it matters is because people in the comment will do what? Resort to laziness, resort to negativity, resort to propaganda. If you want proof, this is my new slogan. It's going to be my new slogan for a while. You can't compete where you don't compare. You cannot compete where you don't compare. Well, proof. If you want proof, when you hear people show me the proof, I show proofs all day long. That's all my page is geared for, which is why it's even worse, an atrocity, that my page doesn't have more people on it. Now, I don't want followers because I want followers, but I've been consistent from day one. I've been tasked to do what I've been doing, and I've been consistent from day one. Do you see sponsors on my page? Do you see advertisements on my page? There's some, like Rumble, who use advertising because that's part of theirs. But that's not part of mine. All right? I'm not advertising on my page. All right? I have books that are #1 bestsellers. There was only one way to put all this in one location. Only one way. Was a book. Well, it costs to print a book. So for all the idiots out there that say what they say, it costs to print a book. And it took my time and my hours and my intellectual property to put it all together the way I have. So that is what? A gift in itself that God gave me to do. All right? Doesn't mean I'm bragging about it, but I do know who I am. I do know what I'm capable of, which means I'm confident in that. But I also was tasked to do this in another kind of manner. All right? So when you go look at the book and when you go read it, you'll see all that's been put in there, and it's a chronological order of all the proof. So when you hear people say, oh, we don't ever show proofs, I show proofs all day long. You show proof that you have no IQ when you say that. You show proof that you have 2 brain cells fighting for 4 chambers, and they don't know where to go. Because you're either lazy or incompetent or both. All right? My platform God gave me was to get to everybody in one sitting. All right? So I'm not going to sit here and watch people comment in my comment box without defending myself and also defending my intellectual property. President Trump just defended my intellectual property with an executive order just a couple of months ago for authors and creators, songwriters, etc. Intellectual property. But the liberals wouldn't be losing their minds right now if nothing was happening. So you'll still see people say, oh, nothing's happening. I don't see anything happening. You don't see anything because you don't know what you're looking for or looking at because you have not fed yourself with the manna. The manna meaning the literature, the terms, the terminology, the glossary, the index of what President Trump's working with. He's just the face of this. So if you love him and support him, you should seek to read what he's working with. And he's not the only one. Multiple men and women are behind this. Bipartisan. So if you love the man and support him, why wouldn't you want to know what he's working with? And another thing, why are so many people who claim to be Republicans, claim to be conservatives, getting their panties in a wad for a guy like me who's showing you all the laws and the orders? I don't ever use .org, .net, .this, and .that unless one of the .govs or .mils referenced it. And ironically, it's a .org site where all of the joint publications of the military are actually housed because there's so many of them and they're long. They're 50 to 100 to 200 to 300, 400 pages long. So when you hear people say no proof, remember, I'm the one that's read through all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages that equal thousands of pages. So you can't compete where you don't compare. And what's going to happen is the Mark Twain effect is what's happening right now. The Mark Twain effect is in full-fledged blast. Because me, I'm the one who showed everybody the chronological order of all the laws and orders. I didn't Hansel and Gretel throw you crumbs. I'm the one that showed all this in one setting. Now you have the Mark Twain effect. Remember his quote? It says, at the beginning of a change, the patriot is scorned, ridiculed, hated, and mocked. But when his cause succeeds, the timid will join him because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. So think about all the people who have attacked me, a retired veteran now, just simple veteran, just nothing, no hero, no this, that, and the other, just simply raised my right hand, did what God called me to do at that time period. Now I'm doing what God called me to do in this time period and showing you the laws and orders. That's it. Imagine someone being so hated and ridiculed and mocked. And I'm more hated by Republicans and conservatives than I am liberals. Imagine that. How did we get here? How did we get to this place in United States of America history where a veteran keeping oath, knows the laws, knows the orders, is hated and ridiculed and mocked. Think about the people who tried to steal my trademark. Here they were, right, claiming they want a First Amendment and all that. So what does theft and stealing have to do with anything? What's lying have to do with anything? You can't take, let me say it this way. Everyone out there who says, I show no proof, everyone who says this is all bullshit and hogwash, every one of these people who have attacked, ridiculed, mocked, tried to start stuff, tried to prefabricate all these stories that never happened, not a single person, not one single person has taken all the laws and orders in place that I've shown and shown how they don't mean what they mean. Not one single person. You know why? Because when they read and actually comprehend what they read, they're going to find out they were wrong. So, a lot of them are haters, but they're what? They're jealous. Because it's not them. Alright? The others are incompetent and probably the swamp. Alright? They replicate the swamp, so they got to be the swamp. Alright? So, if you notice just this past week, I think it was this past week, it was sometime recent, Charlie Kirk, they were attacking him and a few others. Some guy was in the audience, and they were calling him a grifter. And he stood up, and he fought back, right? That's it. It's you, jealous people. It's you, jealous people, who are actually what you're accusing me of, you're actually that yourself. All right? So I bring all that up to get us to where, how did we get here? How did we get to this place in history? It's very important because it's not me complaining, no, and you'll have someone in the comment box later on Rumble who will say that. There's always somebody who they can't be happy. You just can't set them straight. Right? There will be someone saying that no, you're complaining. Not complaining. Right? I'm outlining. So we have rhinos and conservatives who act like they know what's going on, and they don't. They get their panties in a wad when you tell them, well, the laws and the orders show this, 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 and this. What you're watching is not real time. All right. Then you have your liberals and you have your Democrats over here. Your all these people. How did we get to a place? Now this is what happened. All your Democrats and liberals of the 1990s, they were against George Bush and the Bushes. They were the ones yelling at that time period that the Bushes were starting wars for oil and money. Well, they were correct. So here we are today, though. The liberals are wanting Russia, or they want the Russia-Ukraine. They want Ukraine to keep war with Russia going. All right. The liberals are actually supporting illegal migrants, people who are ripping the tax system which they pay into. Right? Liberals are paying their taxes. A lot of them pay their taxes. So they want illegal migrants, people who didn't come here lawfully, to have due process when they didn't come here lawfully in the first place. And when they got here, they didn't do things lawfully after getting here. Right? Then you have your Republicans and conservatives over here. Well, no, actually, it's your patriots, quote unquote, the anons and people like that, who are saying it's corporate to use the term citizenship. What part of the Fellow's Papers have you not read? So look at the people who polar opposite sides, but have no idea about the foundation. Have no idea about the foundation. They don't know anything about our foundation. So you got a group of people who are trying to create their own foundation this way. You got this group of people over here. Well, let me do it backwards. So your Republicans, conservatives, and quote-unquote patriots, they're trying to create their own little narratives and foundations. Then your liberals, they don't even have one. So how do you cut through all the chaos? I mean, that's what President Trump, they're doing. They're getting rid of all these so it's all these taxes that should never have happened. They're cutting all that. There's no such thing as a tax on a tip. That's income tax. There's no such thing on paper of, oh, here's a tax right here on the tip. That's income tax. Wake up, people. There's no such thing as a tax on the tip. That's income tax. There's no such thing as tax on overtime. That's income tax. That's your income. So that's self-disclosure where we're headed in the future. So when all those taxes start being unlifted off of people, all right, and they start going, dang, this is real and awesome, then they're going to show you that income tax was a fraud. All right, they could do it straight out the gate, but what they're doing is they're building more people, more patriots, more people who go, wow, this is awesome, right? And President Trump, I was wrong about it. They're getting those people to come on board, all right? Because there's no such thing as those. That is income tax. And President Trump loved Herman Cain. Rest in peace, Herman Cain. He's the one who had the idea when he was running for president for a flat tax. Just a flat tax. And we do need a tax, there's no doubt, because we have highways we all share. We have bridges we have to cross over, and we want them to hold up when we all get on a bridge somewhere, like going across Lake Pontchartrain into New Orleans, 27 miles long bridge. We want that bridge to hold up, don't we? Yes, we do. And guess what that bridge is holding up? All different walks of life when you're driving over it. Gay, straight, Buddhist, atheist, Christian, this, that, black, white, Spanish, interracial. It's holding all kinds of people up. The bridge don't say, hey, if you're gay, you can't come across, because I guarantee you there's a shit ton of gay people in New Orleans. So if that were the case, they wouldn't be going across Lake Pontchartrain on the 27 mile, the longest bridge in the United States of America. They wouldn't be going across that bridge. So we do need something there that we all benefit from, but we also all contribute to. So then, like all these other things that's been cut out, the Department of Education, why would you want a government telling you what to do with your children? You already don't want your neighbor telling you, hey, you ought to spank his ass for showing out in the store like that. Oh, you don't tell me what to do with my kids. Okay, well, why in the hell would you want the government to? I mean, this stuff is not complicated as people make it. I mean, that's what baffles me and my team and my friends. It's like, how is this so difficult to understand? You don't want so-and-so telling you what to do with your child. Just your own friends, you'll tell them, you don't have kids, Derek Jonhson. Don't you tell me what to do with my kids. Okay, well, why the hell do you want the government to? You just made your point out there, Karen, whoever you are. You made your own point. But your kids wouldn't be acting like a dang fool in the store if you put your little hand on that ass every now and then. All right? Little thing called discipline, structure. That's what the world got away from. So President Trump is saying, we're wiping this out up here on the government level. That way you can have full and complete control. But you also need to apply some principles back in your life. So how did we get here? Illegals? The whole term, they can't, well, first off, liberals can't say the word illegal. It's just like, it's something they can't do. It's like putting a raw persimmon in their mouth. I don't know what it is. They just can't say the word illegal. But then when they turn around and say, well, they deserve due process, so if someone deserves due process, you're still saying they're illegal. All right? Or they've done something unlawful. If you need due process of anything, that means that you need some order in your life, some laws, right? But see, they want to use the term unconstitutional when it fits their narrative. They want to use the terms laws and orders when it fits their narrative. They don't want to look at the laws and orders of the highest law in the land, the Constitution, for a whole, right? And we're the ones who are actually saying, hey, we don't care if you're gay. I don't support gay marriage and gay anything, but I'm also like funding, all right, federal funding or state funding. I don't support that, but I'm not going to go to your house and say, hey, you can't be gay, all right. You can't walk down the street and hold someone's hand, all right. No one's telling you that. See, all these people don't realize that if you're gay, you're still gay. If you're trans, you're actually still trans. Your rights haven't been taken away. Your quote-unquote, what you thought were rights, your privileges, though, have been removed from federal funding and state funding. So that's why they're whining, complaining, bitching, and moaning and groaning. Because they know that their toys, so it's like a toddler with a toy. When you take the toy away, what? They cry. All right, so their funding's been removed. And that's why they know. So a guy like me wouldn't have a platform, but especially showing the laws and the orders of what President Donald John Trump is working with, but not just him, just bipartisan. Multiple people are part of this, but bipartisan. Very key. So all these liberals out there kicking, whining, complaining, as Dan Scavino will tell you, again, remember, don't let the 10% make you think they're the 90%. They're not. And this is an operation, again, the whole thing's an operation. For those of you still complaining that you can't see anything, you don't know what you're looking at because you haven't applied all the laws and orders that are in a strategic but unique blueprint. Again, here comes the grifter. Oh, grifter! Showing the books! All self-published, right off the top of the dome. The dome sitting under this cowboy hat. No publishers. I'm my own publisher. No ghostwriters. I wrote these off the top of my head. I put them all in the chronological order. 216, 17 pages. 596 pages. Straight off the top of my head. You know what they call those in the real world? Entrepreneurs. Alright, but I'm not an entrepreneur from that angle. I'm a retired veteran showing you what's going on. They had to be printed somehow. These show you all the laws and the orders that are chronologically in a unique blueprint. They all go together in a chronological order. If you're confused, it's because you're cherry picking somewhere somehow and you haven't put all of it together. If you're brand new, welcome. You get a hall pass. All right, but if you're someone who's been following me this whole time and you're still saying, I don't see anything, can't see it, whatever, it's because you're not applying the whole thing. You're going over to Tucker, you're going over to here, and you're going over to there. You're going to drama, propaganda, surface level mouths. Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, all these people, Alex Jones, all these people, Fox News, OAN, Newsmax. Let me tell you what they are. Let me break this down for you simple. All these people that you've been watching, outside of the old Hansel and Gretel, just throwing you a little crumb, or getting you all flustered with your emotions by all their drama that they use. They use key words to get you flustered, to get you mad, to get you all like, and you never have a solution. You never have something that brings you back down to level to going, man, here's what President Trump's working with. So OAN, Newsmax, Fox News, all these people I just named, and then some. They're like being in the kitchen with your grandma. My grandmother was an amazing woman and amazing cook. She could cook 10 things at one time and never burn anything. Me, guys, males, we're polar opposite. We get one thing on there and we can't even we can't even fry Spam correctly. All right, most of the time. There's some guys who can't cook, but most average guys were like, oh gosh, what I do. All right, my grandma though, this is why I have a sugar addiction. My grandma, when she get done with the wooden spoon or she get done with the little blender and the little sticks that blend it, she go, you want to lick the chocolate off? Yep, sign me up. Thank goodness I was the only grandchild on that side of the family, so didn't have to sign anybody up. I was the one. I was the disposal. I was the garbage man. I was the dishwasher. Whoop, let me have that. Well, what these people do to you, Rogan, all of them, they're surface level. They don't ever show you a law or an order. Ever. They never show you what President Trump's working with. And it's all public. What they do would be like your grandma handing you the spoon. And you getting one lick and then she takes it away. And there's still chocolate left on the spoon or the little stick, the blender stick. And you're like, whoa, I just got started. And then she takes it away. And then she does it. And then she finishes the cake and says, oh, and by the way, the cake's not for you either. It's for the neighbor down the street. That is exactly what all these people do to you. The whole point of draining the swamp is draining all of it. The whole point of draining the swamp is to empower yourself with what you're supposed to know, with not only laws and orders, but also the foundation of this nation, going back and reading and get in the minds of our great founders who wrote every single piece of why we're here today. So that's why liberals look stupid. You have to use the word stupid. Ignorant just means you don't know yet. Stupid means that you know and you still deny and you won't apply what matters. See, that's where the word stupid has to be used sometimes. Because our founders, the liberals would be better off. Liberals would be 100% better off by never using the Constitution out of their mouth. Ever. Because every bit of the Constitution, majority of it was written by whom? James Madison. He's titled the father of the Constitution. The anti-federalist back then, he was a federalist. The anti-federalists back then wanted a separate constitution. They wanted something different. So they had these ideas. Well, guess who authored the Bill of Rights? James Madison. But he wasn't the one who wanted them, but he authored them in a way that it didn't override the Constitution. See, the more you know. So when all these liberals walk around saying they have a First Amendment, why would you even use literature from the same person who wrote the Constitution? And in the Federalist Papers, he wrote the Constitution, September 17th, 1787 is when it was drafted, completed. From 1787, October 1787, do your math, September, October, 1 month. 1 month after the Constitution was drafted, 1 month, the Federalist Papers started. And they ran from October 1787 to August 1788. It was John Jay, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton telling people why the Constitution was going to be good, unique, and different. And in Federalist Paper number 10 and number 14, James Madison tells the whole world why pure democracies are dangerous. They're dangerous. So liberals do what? We're a democracy. We're not a democracy. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution shows we're a republic. James Madison, the father of the Constitution, follows up in Federalist Papers number 10 and 14 that pure democracies are dangerous. So the liberals out there using that terminology, they'd be better off to say, we don't want any of the foundation, we want something completely different. And then they write something, draft something, and then do what? Fight for it. But they don't want to fight. See, they know all their little bull crap, all their little toys and spatulas and their pink hair and purple hair and all this bull crap. You know, all their little holding their little cat and doing all their other bull crap. They ain't gonna fight for anything. They ain't gonna fight for it. So why do Republicans and conservatives look just as atrocious as liberals? And it don't bother me. It don't affect me. I mean, you know, I think it's an atrocity and a disgrace, but it don't affect my sleep at night because nothing can stop what's happening. Nothing's going to stop what's taking place. Nothing's going to change what's taking place. And everybody's going to reap from it. But timestamps don't lie and timestamps don't matter. But it is a disgrace and an atrocity where we are, because on July the 4th, just 2 days ago, all these liberals out there saying they weren't going to celebrate the 4th because there wasn't anything to celebrate. All they did, every single liberal who said that, they took a massive shit on all of the memorial graves across this land. Every man and woman who has ever walked in that uniform, they shit on our service. You see these memorial bracelets that we wear for fallen soldiers? They took a shit on every one of those graves. Every single liberal who says and acts that way are a disgrace and they're disgusting, and they're despicable to the very fabric and grain of our nation. They hate a man so much and don't know why. They sit there and they talk about fraud and corruption, and they can't even identify fraud and corruption. This man has done everything constitutionally. Everything. By the Constitution and the foundation and fabric and grain of all of our founders' literature. To the T. But there's nothing they can do to stop it. And they are being funneled just like this. There's a wall they're coming to. They claim they don't believe in walls, but they about to hit one themselves. Because there's a few things that's happened. It's really cool, and I'm gonna start with one. I'm gonna do 2 points today. It was really funny. All right, so all of that before, you're gonna have a few people say I'm complaining. It's very much important. Not complaining. All right, not any of that. It's very important. Because of society existing. All right, if tomorrow, like the song, God bless the USA. If tomorrow all the things were gone you worked for all your life, but don't say any of the other part. Just stop there. Look where we are in society. Most people, majority of people are what? Reliant on what? Grocery stores, electricity, water, city water. Not well, when the sun goes down, the lights are out. That old saying, to go to bed with the chickens and wake up with the chickens. All right, like my grandfathers did. Wasn't that long ago that people didn't have electricity. Wasn't that long ago they didn't have running water. All right, they had well water. They had to fetch water from the creek or a water source. Wasn't that long ago. Look at where people and what they're dependent on and reliant on. What if all of a sudden, all of the corporate farmers said, to hell with all of you. We'll fend on our own, you fend on your own. What if that happened? See, no one wants to think about these things. No one wants to think about that. You have all your liberals and all your PETA people and all these people out there who say that I'm barbaric and all this other because I deer hunt. We even have Republicans. We have some conservatives call themselves patriots who they voice to me, oh, I don't like that you deer hunt. Oh, you don't like that I can live off the land? Oh, wow. What a crazy thought that is. Wow. And also that I have Native American in me. Oh, because I can grow my own tomatoes. Remember that old Hank Williams Jr. song, A Country Boy Can Survive? See, what you don't take into consideration, some of you that make that comment, is what if all of a sudden all these things did happen? See, you don't realize how much you're dependent on and reliant on the bigger layers. What if that happened? Well, I know how to cook a squirrel, rabbit, deer, fish, birds. I know which ones you can and can't. I can grow my own tomatoes and homemade wine and a country boy can survive. I can skin a buck, I can run a trot line, and a country boy can survive. See, think about that. That little concept. If all of a sudden, all the things that people are dependent on and reliant on were gone. You talking about pandemonium? You talking about chaos in this nation? Ooh, boy, you want to talk about chaos. You want to talk about a civil war? Man, you ain't even seen nothing until you play that in your head. What people would do who can't fend for themselves, can't fight for themselves, but can't even feed themselves and get by on the old school ways. See, when you apply that, it'll hit differently. Thank God we're not going to go there. We're not going to have that. But if people would apply that to their lives, then they would appreciate where you are. Same thing with liberals. Any liberal who celebrated the 4th of July or went to a firework display, even if they didn't quote unquote celebrate, but if they watched a firework go up in the sky and pop, guess what they just witnessed? someone blowing up money. So if you can blow up money, you can't be bitching about it. All right, that's how that also works. All right, so anybody liberal, especially liberals that went and watched money blow up in the sky, if you can watch it blow up, you can't be bitching about it. All right, this nation, ain't nobody in this nation hardly at poverty level that's bitching. Not a single one. And the ones who's bitching about it are not what? Bringing in these unlawful migrants to their household. They're not bringing in the homeless in their household. They ain't doing that. They ain't even going out there feeding them. They're not even giving them any money to survive with. So the very ones doing all the bitching ain't doing anything to the what? Contribution. So therefore, again, if it's affecting you or your emotions or you're letting it get to you somehow, you don't know what the plan is. And there is most definitely a strategic and special plan and operation taking place right now. The dash matters. That dash is not there for giggles and for marketing and advertising. If President Trump was walking around with that on his hat, and that wasn't authentic and real, that would go down in history as a blemish, and what? People would ridicule, mock, and do it in the other way. You got to look at all these things when you're trying to apply this to your life. So watch what's taking place right now. This is so much fun. So all these people whining, complaining, bitching, moaning, groaning, all this. That old Charlie Daniels song, I had them all out there stepping and fetching like their heads were on fire and their asses were catching. That's what a lot of rhinos look like. Never Trumpers, Republicans, conservatives, and liberals. Y'all all look like you're in one bowl running around together. You look like you've been put in a glass bottle with the dang bumblebees in there that's trying to sting you, and you all running around, and it's like, and I'm up here going, shaking it up, going, ha ha ha, yeah, this is funny. You look like dummies, all of you. When there is a strategic, unique blueprint, bipartisan, in place. So the first thing that's funny right now, when the liberals can't identify what's going on, what they'll do is do what? They retreat and they go back to, oh, well, the election was rigged. So just back in 2020, right, after November the 4th, 2020, what did they tell you Republicans, conservatives, and patriots? To get over it. They told you to get over it. They told you, get over it. Joe won, get over it. Right? When you were saying the election was what? Rigged and stolen. Now, if you were just saying that because you didn't like the fact of what, if that would have been real, it wasn't, but hold with me. If that would have been real, just because you wouldn't have liked, quote unquote, Joe, had he been real, if you were just saying that for that reason, then you're just as guilty as them. Now, if you know what I know via laws and orders, then you would have to say it like that to them. You don't say, oh, the 2020 was rigged and stolen if you don't know how to show the proof. All right. Now, the proof hasn't been displayed to the public yet. Hasn't been displayed. All right, because it's a strategic operation. But you don't want to look like them. So liberals right now that President Trump is in place, all right, now the liberals are using that terminology. Oh, it was rigged and stolen. It's like, oh, so you hijacked our language, right, and then you apply it to you now. So let's watch. I'm going to show them the proof. Proof, again, for all the people who in the future want to get in the comment box and say that I don't show proofs. That's all I do. That's all I have. And here you go. Here's more proof. I've already done this before, but we're going to do it again for the libtards out there who are having trouble with their IQ. We're going to try to help their two brain cells find a home in their brain. All right, one of those chambers. All right. So, Executive Order 13848. You've heard me say this over and over and over again. It's one of my favorite executive orders because of what it says in there. There's 2 lines in there that just show everything. But you got to look at the timestamp of it. But then you have to go back, and before you get to September the 12th, 2018, you have to know what President Trump did that was so different. 1, the escalator. 4 days before the escalator ride, the new law war manual was issued. No coincidence. Fast forward 2016, February 2016, Obama said Guantanamo Bay was going to be shut down. President Trump the same day said, I heard Obama's speech somewhere, and by the way, we're keeping Guantanamo Bay open. President Trump signed Executive Order 13823 on January the 30th, 2018. I'm pretty sure 2018 comes after 2017. I'm pretty sure he was inaugurated January the 20th, 2017. He signed an executive order that revoked Obama's executive order to shut it down. Now, an executive order alone does not shut down Guantanamo Bay, but because Obama put it in an executive order, it would have required another executive order to do what? Revoke that one. So how come Obama couldn't shut down Guantanamo Bay, or Congress, from February 2016 to January the 20th, 2017? And how come, quote unquote, Joe couldn't revoke Executive Order 13823? He couldn't even revoke it because he wasn't real. He wasn't lawful. He wasn't president. An executive order requires a pen, paper, president. So, Executive Order 13823 is still in place from January the 30th, 2018. Still in place, still active. Quote unquote, Joe didn't do anything. And it was displayed to the world that, quote unquote, Joe had full Democrat control of the House and the Senate from 2021 to 2023. So how come, quote unquote, Joe couldn't undo anything by President Trump? Not a single thing. Especially the war orders. All right. So, now let's do the math. September the 12th, 2018, President Trump signed Executive Order 13848 and declared a national emergency. That's 2 months before any election under President Trump's first 4 years. 2 months before, he signed an executive order and declared a national emergency. So now let's read between the lines. All right, so this is where you gotta. In my point number 2, this is point number 1, but point number 2, they coincide. See, that's why you had to have a book, because all this stuff coincides, meaning it all goes together, no matter if it's talking about Iran or election interference, because of one order in place, because of one key order, the foundational order. So, September the 12th, 2018. Fast forward, December the 20th, 2019. The Congress, a Democratic-controlled House of Representatives, introduced the war order on December the 20th, 2019, and it was passed. It's in Section 1550, Title 50, Chapter 33. Title 50 is War and National Defense. Chapter 33 is your War Powers Resolution Act of 1973. That's your War Powers Act. That's where wars are declared. 1550 was not there until Congress put it there on December the 20th, 2019. Who was the president again? So in that Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, when you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's an executive document there by quote-unquote Biden on July 19, 2021. That executive document is reading that quote-unquote Joe is relinquishing his power and authority as the quote-unquote president to the Secretary of Defense of Section 1550. Well, who was the president of Section 1550? President Donald John Trump. And he'd already given a direct order to his Secretary of Defense. And the Secretary of Defense was already in order of successions that were unique and different. Alright? So you got to keep that in mind. Now, go over to the executive orders under, however you want to look at it, after December the 20th, 2019, and under Section 1550. President Trump federalized 1 million reserve components to active duty. Reserves only serve a federal mission. They're not dual like a National Guard. National Guard can serve state and federal. Reserves are federal only, meaning Title 10 only, presidential only. Then you had President Trump direct order to the Secretary of Defense in Executive Order 13919, where they invoked Title 10, Section 12304, which is selected reserves. This one back here, Executive Order 13912 on March 27, 2020, that invoked Title 10, Section 12302, which are your reserve components. In between that, April the 1st, 2020, President Trump, the Southern Command launched a operation against all forms of trafficking with 22 joint partners. Fast forward. Executive Order 13961, December the 7th, 2020. In the second 180 days of after and under, so after December the 20th, 2019 and under Section 1550, President Trump invoked the continuity government with Executive Order 13961. 3 days later, the most recent to this day, July the 6th, 2025, to this day, the most recent order of succession within the Department of Defense is Executive Order 13963, 3 days after the invoking of continuity government with Executive Order 13961. No coincidence. Why would quote-unquote Joe and the Democrats, especially with a Democratic House and Senate from 2021 to 2023, why would they let a continuity government executive order stay in place, meaning active, from December we'll do it then. It was signed December the 7th, 2020, but we'll say for the sake of visuals, for the people who thought Joe was real, why would they let that executive order run from January the 20th, 2021 to January the 19th, 2025? And he, quote-unquote, partially revoked it, which means we're still in a continuity government. Then you have your FEMA and Department of Homeland Security who put out a publication in December 2023. Do I have to repeat what was shown to the public again, who had control of Democratic House and Senate from 2021 to 2023? FEMA, DHS, under your Federal Continuity Directive 1 and Federal Continuity Directive 2, your reissues of your continuity governments, plans, and implementations, you have a publication in December 2023 that's being put out by FEMA and DHS under these umbrellas. And what's referenced all through it? Executive Order 13961, continuity government. So why would quote-unquote Joe and the Democrats, who was displayed to the public to have full control of the House and the Senate, Democrat, why'd they let all the President Trump stuff stay active? It's all there. Just requires a little reading and comprehension. All right. So now let's bounce back. The Executive Order 13848 has a key line in there. It says this: although no foreign power has altered the outcome or vote tabulation. Well, that's two different things there. That's two different results, outcomes. Although no foreign power has altered, changed, messed with, whatever you want to call it, whatever definition you want to put there, altered the outcome, or, that little two-letter conjunction, or vote tabulation. Vote tabulation, ladies and gentlemen, by definition is January the 6th. That's the day that we certify the votes. That's the Electoral Count Act of 1887. This is why it pays to know these things. All right. So, January the 6th, the libtards got hung on J6 like a rat on a glue pad. Man, they just clung to it and they don't realize how dumb and atrocious they look. Thank you, liberals, for looking so stupid right now. Hate it for you, because we're actually supposed to be saving you here. We're supposed to be bringing you over to the team, but you look stupid. All right, hanging on J6 like a rat on a glue pad. That's what you look like. All right, so J6, for the first time in U.S. history, first time in United States history, with the certification of a president, two objections took place in the vote count. During the state of Arizona, so Alabama and Alaska got through, check mark, President Trump. The third state out the gate, Arizona, two objections took place. First time in U.S. history, two objections take place. Conveniently, a quote-unquote insurrection took place immediately. So let's just, for hypothetical reasons, I hate them, but let's just for hypothetical reasons, for the libtards out there and the rhinos and the conservatives who think that was real, let's just play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's just say that was real. Let's just pretend it was real. Even if it was real, that does not stop the process and the procedures and the prescription of law and order. Because even if that would have been real, then if it was real, it still had a what? A breakage, a stoppage of the flow of what law and order is supposed to do. So they would have had to run out and then get safe and get protected. But then what could they do? When the smoke cleared and when they deemed the security, law enforcement, all law enforcement on state level and federal level, but also because it was the District of Columbia, so all law enforcement of the District of Columbia would have said, hey, everything's safe, secure, you can enter the building and go back to doing what you're doing. Those two objections still should have been disposed of. So they would have still had a stoppage of vote count and gone into a special chamber as prescribed by the law and figure out what happened in the state of Arizona. And it didn't matter if it took a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. It does not matter. There is a prescription of what to do if it's drug out that long. There is prescriptions. Title 3, Section 15. You probably should go read that. Because the very last line of Title 3, Section 15, guess what it says? Guess what it says? The votes, no votes are to be moved on until what? The objections are what? Disposed of. Did you see that take place that day? No, you did not. What you witnessed was Congress break federal law, Title 18, which is Federal Crimes and Criminal Procedures, Title 18, Sections 2381, 2384, 2385, and also Title 52, Section 20511. That's what you witnessed. And then also Title 3, Section 15 was broke. Every person witnessed that. That is what you're supposed to chew on. That is what you're supposed to absorb. That is what you're supposed to have in your repertoire when you're telling your friends and your family, no matter if they're liberals or rhinos, whatever they are, that's what you're supposed to know. And then also this. Put on your little grin. They call that a shit-eating grin. All right, right there. Put that on and then tell them this. President Trump signed Executive Order 13848 and declared a national emergency on September the 12th, 2018, which was 2 months before the election in November 2018. 2 years and 2 months before the election of 2020. All right. Put your grin on and then tell them this. Say, do you know that the first time in U.S. history the National Guard were put on active duty for the elections of 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024? The National Guard.mil shows you this. And guess what the National Guard and military work with? They work with analog, not digital. Therefore, it can't be hacked. So when you hear the liberals out there say they want a forensic audit of the 2024 count, bring it on, baby. Bring it on. Let them. Now, I know that that's all been controlled and operated, period, and it's all an operation, but that's what you would tell them. Say, hey, If that's what you want, your wish will be our command. Because the National Guard have been called up 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024. You can go to Google and type in 2008, 2012, no National Guard. So therefore, guess what? The National Guard being called up are unique by laws and orders, but unique by what? The operation. So if you want to continue to look stupid, you want to continue to look ignorant, you want to continue to be that lazy person in the comments talking about another topic unrelated to what's going on right now. What's going on in Texas has nothing to do with what's going on right now. If you want to be that person who gets in the comment box and don't listen to what's going on and don't apply what's going on, if you want to be those people who do that, you're the lazy people who keep this shit going. You're the ones who keep all this going. You're the ones who keep the swamp replicated. You're the ones who don't want change. You're the ones who don't want to be here for the right reasons. And then you get mad at someone like me for calling you out and calling it out and putting you on full display. You control your emotions. You control your life. You control who abuses you. You control who talks down to you. You control everything about that. You control your emotions. You control that. You allow what you allow in your life. So why don't you want to empower yourself with what President Donald John Trump's working with? All this other stuff does not matter. It doesn't matter what the liberals are saying, what the rhinos and all their little big talk that they get on their little publications, and they want to talk about rights and this, that, and other. You can't know your rights until you know the laws and the orders of what established those rights. James Stewart, known as Jimmy Stewart, in one of his movies, on the board behind it that I just shared this week, it shows what? It says education is the what? Is the basis of laws and orders. If you want the swamp, then what you're doing replicates it and it keeps it there. When you don't empower yourself with what the commander is working with, but especially a unique strategy and a unique defined parameter, it's not like any other time period. It's not going to be, because this is a unique strategic special operation. The only thing that matters right now is what President Donald John Trump's working with and the blueprint and the outline of this operation. All these other things, some are distraction pieces to get you tripped up in a hiccup, but it's mainly for whom? It's mainly for the people who don't know that Derek Jonhson exists, Rattletrap 1776 exists, to educate you on what's actually taking place and to eliminate all the stress, all the propaganda, all the drama. Now, watch how this ties in. So here you think election interference. So the average person out there, God love you, who's never heard me before, welcome again. If you're watching this for the first time, welcome. Right? It's the people I'm talking to are the people who just, they have all the resources, but they don't what? Apply them. Consume them. Absorb them. Apply them. Knowledge is not power. It's the application of knowledge that's power. All right? Laws and orders are there. The blueprint's there. The outline's there. It's all here. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it weren't. I'm the only one who shows it this way. Now, there's some others out there that were in the ballpark and they thought they knew, but I'm the only one who showed it, all the laws and orders. They're there. So you got these people. Watch this. This is kind of cool. You think that election interference is this topic way over here. And then you think Iran is this topic way over here. And you would think there's no direct correlation to the two. But there is. And this right here, this is why I did it this way today. Election interference way over here. Iran way over here. There's a direct correlation between the two that can show you this is a unique strategic special operation. So watch this. So right now, all the liberals are saying President Trump's acting unconstitutionally. They're saying he's a dictator. They say he's violating the Constitution, which would be the unconstitutional quote. They say he's a threat to democracy. They don't even know when they use the term democracy and Constitution, the same sentence structure, same sentence. Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, there's that Constitution they claim. Article 4, Section 4 says republic, Republican form of government for each state. They don't know that the father of the Constitution who wrote this, in Federalist Papers number 10 and 14, he wrote about the destruction of democracies. So, Obama. I don't know if you saw this week or this past week, but I was blocked quickly on True Social. So then people would go, oh, well, that's President Trump's platform blocking Derek Jonhson. Well, key thing happened in that. Not only did I come back with a red check, but I came back with 1,000 more followers than I had before. Well, all of a sudden it go from 108 to 109,000. That's kind of cool. All right. Just in 30 seconds time period. So what were they holding back on? It wasn't them. All right. It wasn't President Trump. People who think President Trump's running all this stuff, you're absolutely out of your mind, for one. All right. Two, there's still people who don't know what the heck's going on who are working under that because the people they're working for might be under a little thing called an NDA. All right. But I got blocked briefly. So I text my friend Siggy Flicker. Shout out Siggy. All right. I text her really fast. And I said, hey, got blocked. You know, I'm pretty sure I know what happened because of the last post I put up. Well, then she loops me in a group text message with someone that everybody would know. All right. But I'll keep from saying their name right now just in case they don't want their name known. All right. Then he texts Devin Nunes. Shout out Devin Nunes. Thank you, Devin. I've met Devin at Mar-a-Lago before. Cool and great guy. All right. I refreshed the page. Right back up. And I screenshot that, sent that over in the group text, and they go, dang, that was quick. And I got the red badge verification. So now everybody knows my authentic page, and you'll be able to tell the difference between the fakes and the frauds and the thieves and all those and the real one, finally. All right, at Derek Jonhson. It's the only thing I've ever got my name at Derek Jonhson. So the last post I put up shows I'm directly over the target. And if you'll watch, so this Wednesday night, which will probably be published, I think, on Friday, I'll be back on with it's the one we do once a month with all of the veterans, all right, special operations. All right, we're all sitting there talking about what's going on. Sometimes we'll have a general on there, but mostly it's colonels, and then former SEAL Team 6 Chief Jaco, all right, who I was just on with July the 3rd, all right. So if you go listen to Chief Jaco, he'll tell you that I'm the best he's ever heard explain all this in one sitting, all the laws and orders and special operations he's ever heard. I mean, if that makes me a whatever, then fine. Then fine. I'm doing it to help you on my time and my dime. So, you know, my vehicles are anywhere from 8 to 18 years old. I live in a tiny house. I don't have any fancy cars, no mansion, and all these other things that people have that are okay because we're still a capitalist market, but there you go. Just a veteran keeping the oath. And I posted this post, and it shows that I'm directly over the target because what started happening, what happened just 2 days ago? Obama resurfaced, and he's trashing President Trump, and he's trashing the Big Beautiful Bill. And the people who are trashing the Big Beautiful Bill, while we're there really fast again, They're mad because of waste being cut out, taxes being cut out by incompetent idiots who were the swamp rhinos and dinos of all the past in your lifetime. Every single person living watching this right now, especially if you're over 40 years old, you were in the swamp. We all had the swamp as politicians. Every one of us. So all these people who are mad, they're mad because waste being cut out of all levels. Medicaid, all the waste, all the illegals are being cut out and cut off. All the welfare, all the people who got on welfare and bragging about how they bought all these purses and all these things all the years, and they know how to live just enough to show that they're broke and stay on welfare, which was a system established for temporary service and for good reasons until you got on your feet. But what did people do? They became dependent on it. And then when they had kids, they just passed that mentality down there. All this is being cut out because you're paying for it. You're paying for it. And how anybody's bitching about that, you're paying for it. That's what the Big Beautiful Bill is doing. It's cutting out all this fraud. All right? Doge. All right, we're not going to get on Elon and all that. Elon's been used as a pawn. Perfect pawn. It's a strategic operation, first off. You need to learn about special operations, people being used as pawn. Elon did something way back here that they know about, and he's being used as a pawn. All right, that's exactly what's happened. But Doge, all right, the digital service. Obama established the digital service. He's the one who started this about cutting out and eliminating waste. You can go look at it in executive order. He's got videos talking about it, official videos on White House archives. He's the one who established it. President Trump renamed it. Therefore, who can't get credit for it? Obama then, because if they say anything about it, they'll have to do what? Acknowledge it. All right? So, they established it. President Trump renamed it. Well, if it was so bad, then why did, quote-unquote, Joe fund money, $200 million, fund in the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021? See how dumb liberals are? See how dumb they are calling President Trump a threat to democracy and a dictator and violate the Constitution? Okay, if you thought Joe Biden was real, I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. He wasn't, but if you thought it, he funded it in the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 when he had a full Democratic House and Democratic Senate. So President Trump is a threat to democracy and violate the Constitution and all these other things because he's doing what? The same thing that Obama established? All right, so Obama resurfaces and he's trashing President Trump and saying President Trump's this and that and this, and you need to call your so-and-so and say no on this. So Obama's resurfacing. Very key. President Trump was the one who recently posted, all roads lead to Obama. And on that same post, very visible, it says, reshare if you would like to see public military tribunals. Now, a lot of patriots and conservatives and Republicans, they want what? Justice. We want to see justice. Nothing can change until we see people arrested and until we see justice. So you'll share the heck out of that post. But when President Trump shares same thing, he shared someone else's post. It wasn't his originally. He shared someone else's post, which was a repost. But when President Trump reposts that Joe Biden's been executed in 2020, oh, that's an error. No, that is not correct. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't do that. Oh, it's just a joke. Oh, he's the ultimate troll. Joe Biden had a funeral service on January the 20th, 2021. 3 cannons at Arlington is not a 21-gun salute. Arlington National Cemetery.mil tells you that. Official military site. The 3-volley salute seen or heard at Arlington, guns or cannons, is not a 21-gun salute. It's a funeral service. Oh, but you don't want to believe that either. Oh, because it's so far-fetched. Oh, my God, how could you say that, Darren Jonhson? Oh, my God. President Trump says it. President Trump tells you it's central casting all day long. Central casting. Go to Google. Type in central casting. What's it say? The leading background actor agency in the nation. Background actor. Not Clint Eastwood. Not Tom Cruise. Not all your famous. Background actor. The people who lay in an alley that you see on a commercial, or you see these people that you never know their names of. The ones who do what? Oh, get your Ozempic today. Since your fat ass won't get off the couch and go hit a treadmill, here's your pill. Take this pill and you'll lose weight. All those actors that you see on TV, these commercials, background actors, not big dogs, not Clint Eastwood, not John Wayne, not them, background. Oh, but you won't believe that either, because it's so far-fetched to you that you can't imagine that a special operation requires what? Unique strategies, tactics. And the CIA's been using masks and the mask, all of them, for 45, 50 years. All over YouTube. You can go look it up on YouTube. There it is. They're showing you CIA, all their tactics they've used. You won't believe that, though. And President Trump's showing you everything you need to see daily. Timestamp. These are proclamations and timestamp. Boom. And you don't want to listen to President Trump. All roads lead to Obama. Reshare if you'd like to see military tribunals. Joe Biden's been executed 2020. Oh, it's not real. He don't know what he was doing. He didn't see that. He don't know the difference in a post and a repost. What the hell does that even mean? And what's the difference in a post and a repost? Repost means you got to post it. Man, I mean, I swear, I think I lose IQ myself. I have to regenerate my IQ. I feel like a Tesla. I feel like I have to plug in somewhere and go reload after saying that. I mean, my God, have mercy, people. My God, have mercy. How did we get so dumb in America? So you have Obama's resurfacing. Then you'll have your people over here going, well, you saying he's resurfaced, but he's been posted on Twitter all this time. So did you see him post that? Did you see him with his phone in his hand typing this out and posting it? No, you didn't. And if Obama, Hillary, Bill, George, if all of these swamp people were free to roam, meaning they can go anywhere in the nation, be seen anywhere in the nation, be on any TV show in the nation, be on any platform in the nation, be at any event in the nation, then why aren't the quote-unquote leaders like Obama, Hillary, Bill, and even George Bush, who was a quote-unquote Republican, but he stood with all of them separate from President Trump at all these different funerals you've seen them at. So where are they? Why aren't they out there in all these Democratic cities rallying the retards? All the retards are in one location. All of them. They're infested. They're all in one. There's one thing that a liberal will do. They will protest. They'll get out in the streets. Now, there's some who are paid for, ain't no doubt. But there's some who are authentic and real. They'll get out. They won't watch a football game. They'll boycott a football game in a heartbeat. I'll say it like that. They'll sacrifice a football game or a golf match or this. They'll sacrifice. Republicans and conservatives won't do that. There's only a few who will. But we're talking about majority won't. Oh no, heaven help. Don't miss your football game. By God, don't miss going to the lake on the weekend. Oh, Derek Johnson's a conspiracy theorist. Don't read one single law and order in place by the man you claim to support. You got the flag on your boat flying around the lake on the weekend, but you ain't read one single law. Oh, heaven help us all. A liberal will protest. They may look stupid doing it, but they will protest. So why aren't their quote-unquote leaders out rallying like President Trump did from 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024? What other president has ever gone out on a campaign? So let's go back to 2012. All right. Was Obama campaigning in 2011, 2010, 2009? No, he wasn't. Go back to Bush. Go back to Clinton. Go back to any president. Did you ever see them campaign for the full 3 years before? No, you haven't. especially on their dime. No, you haven't. You have not seen that. Not once have you seen that. There's no such thing as a midterm rally. There's no such thing as that. President Trump, 2021, rallies. 2022, rallies. 2023, rallies. 2024, election year. Those were proclamations. They're all time-stamped. They all have things in there that tie into laws and orders. So if Obama, Hillary, Bill, George, if they're all free to roam, where are they? Why aren't they out there going, we got to save this country, President Trump's destroying it, we got to save America, we have a plan, but where are they? This don't mean that they exist. This is being controlled. But until then, until you grasp what a special operation is by unique laws and orders, watch how it ties in. So remember the election interference, Executive Order 13848 in Iran. Now watch this. So when I got blocked on True Social, this is what I put up. Now watch this. So Gerald Ford, President Ford, when he got a little charismatic, they took a shot at him. All right. President Ford signed Executive Order 11905. And if you go, a perfect example, here's your more proof of all the idiots out there that say I don't show proof. I show proof all the time. Go to Google, type in Executive Order 11905, comma, CIA.gov, enter. The first PDF that pulls up, click on it. And it's going to be the old school, unclassified document. You can skip forward. I highly recommend not doing that. Highly recommend reading the whole thing. I think it's 38 pages. All right, but if you just insist, go to page 26, 27, 28. Read all the things that are in there about the unconsented searches, physical searches, surveillance, electronic surveillance, tax returns, opening of mail and things like that. All right. What did President Trump tell you the whole time? That the CIA, the DOJ, the FBI, all these agencies, the three-letter agencies, he said not everybody in them, he said the senior level leadership, but the senior level leadership under the swamp did what? Weaponized against whom? President Trump. He told you this consistently from 2017, 2018. What did they do? Russia, 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 Russia collusion, Russia this. All this stuff to distract people. All right. It's all a strategic plan, though. All right. So when you know this executive order, it shows all these things. Well, what do you have proof of? What did President Trump say? They spied on my campaign. They spied on Trump Tower. They did what? So spying on Trump Tower be surveillance. Also, they raided Mar-a-Lago with the documents, right, that a president can have, a president and a vice president can have. Presidential Records Act of 1978. Obama added to that with an executive order, even more so what a president can hold with an executive order. You can go read about that. All right. So he can have those. And then the tax returns. Elizabeth Warren, to this day on her tappy tap, all right, keeps saying about President Trump's taxes. Go read Executive Order 11905, CIA.gov. Go read that documentation. All right, it shows the weaponization that they did against President Trump. All right, so we're still under a continuity of government because the partial revocation means we're still in one. Executive Order 13961. So keep in mind what you're still witnessing to this day. Until that shows we're out of the continuity of government, we're still in the continuity of government. And because we're still in the continuity of government, that still means military occupation. All right. President Trump told you in October, November, this past October, November 2024, he said, we're an occupied country. We will soon no longer be one. That didn't mean it stopped on January the 20th, 2025. It didn't mean it stopped. January the 19th, 2025, there was a partial revocation. When he said we will soon no longer, he just meant soon. He didn't mean that day. All right, so you got to remember that. So now, when you look at Obama, here's your election interference again. Here's Iran. Now watch this. So I posted this. So that's why you got to know laws and orders. That's why it looks atrocious, especially when I was being attacked by Bannon and his people, saying that the Title 50 is not the war and national defense. Section 1550 is not a war order. Chapter 33 is not the War Powers Resolution. It most certainly is. I mean, so why do you keep supporting these trash rhinos? All right, these trash traitors. All right. So, Section 1550, the reason why that matters is because right now, the liberals are saying what President Trump's doing is unconstitutional. Well, it was the Democratic House under President Trump who introduced the war order of 1550. It's in the War Powers Resolution Act. It's there. That's what every troop under President Trump is working with. Especially with the wars that you've seen. So you've seen the war on with the Southern Command, all right, the 22 joint partners, all right, the bombing of Yemen, all right. He had to have a reason to do that, which that was Executive Order 13611 by Obama, but still President Trump put it in the War Powers Act. That way he is covered by law and order. Then you have Iran. Then you had Afghanistan. When he bombed the hell out of Afghanistan, he put a Moab on them. All these things are covered. The election interference is a different kind of federalization with the National Guard, but that's also there as well. Everything is there and covered by President Trump. Everything. But there's some things that are in a little thing called a PEAD. P-E-A-D acronym, short for Presidential Emergency Action Document. They were established by President Eisenhower, who was also a retired 5-star general, rare 5-star. President Eisenhower established the continuity government. And PEADS, so this is like an umbrella, so this is your continuity government. PEADS are under that. They're a part of it, but they're pre-planned. There's 4 ways that military pairs with federal. Executive orders, national emergencies, proclamations, and treaties. It was the Congress who tried to put limitations, violating the Constitution in 1973 with the War Powers Resolution Act. By limiting the power of the president where he had to declare a national emergency to use the troops. So President Trump did what? Okay, I'll beat you at your own game, you incompetent, idiot, swamp people. So he's using the War Powers Resolution Act, and he's using all his other authorities and power as president elsewhere with Title 10 authority, presidential authority, Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is military law. All right, but he's using them at their own game. He's beating them at their own game. So now when you look at Obama resurfacing, talking trash, all right, it's just so funny, man. It's so brilliant, but elegant, fun, hilarious, whatever word. It's everything. It's everything a military could lick your chops over and go, oh, you people calling President Trump unconstitutional and a dictator, you don't even know this. So all the people who thought that the quote-unquote assassination was real July 13th, last year, 2024, everybody who got in a tissy fit over me showing how it's all military operations, special operations, you show, or those people, but you, if that was you, you show that you don't want to know the full picture. And it's not questioning a lie. This is not a lie. It's not questioning anything. This is just showing you what they're using. So in 1966, the Special Operations Command put out a publication. And it had a pyramid in there. And it's called a pyramid. It's for revolutions. A revolution. Go figure. Imagine that. What do they call the foundation of our nation? The Revolutionary War? What are the odds of that? So, pyramid. And there's a line in there. Very specific line. There's one word in there. Agitation. And then it had some follow-up behind it. The word agitation. 1966. What are the odds that President Trump rolls down the escalator June the 16th, 2015, 4 days before the Law of War Manual was reissued? All right, then you fast forward April 2016, that same Special Operations Command, the tip of the spear, all right, the formation he makes with his hands at every meeting and every event, tip of the spear, Special Operations, that's not the Space Force, that's not Illuminati for all the idiots on both sides, that is tip of the spear, Special Operations. All right, what are the odds that in 2016, April, Special Operations Command puts out a new publication, publish it. for the public to see, read, study, comprehend. What are the odds that that word agitation in 1966 changed to assassination? Ain't there. The odds aren't there. If you think that's a coincidence. And behind that word assassination now, and behind agitation, but now assassination, it says forming favorable public opinion, advocating national cause, creation of distrust of established institutions. Well, did you get pissed if you're a Republican, conservative, rhino, never Trumper? All right, the ones who were supporting Trump at that time, the never Trumpers and rhinos are now the people who thought Iran was it's a war. He's going to bust up MAGA. Oh, you were never a President Trump supporter, so we'll eliminate you now. You were never real. All right, but all you Republican conservatives, it's just because you didn't know what? Special operations, military operations, but special operations. That's okay, hall pass. All right, but it's there. Did you get mad and pissed because you thought President Trump was being shot at, trying to attack? Yes, you did. Checkmate. It did. It did the first thing. It formed a favorable public opinion. Favorable public opinion. Checkmate. Did it advocate a national cause? Well, that means, did it leave the walls of Pennsylvania? Or was it something only Pennsylvanians knew? Steelers, Eagles, all right, Nittany Lions. Did only the people of Pennsylvania know about it? Or did it advocate a national cause? It advocated a national cause because it left the walls of Pennsylvania. Checkmate. Creation of distrust of established institutions. Well, did people start blaming the law enforcement, local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, your Secret Service, your CIA, your FBI, etc.? Checkmate. Yes, they did. And even some Republicans out there did what? Trashed the female that was shown in the visual. And you didn't even notice that President Trump said they tackled me so damn hard I came out of my shoes. They didn't tackle him. He fell down on his own. Then they jumped on him. They didn't tackle him. All right, now I'm not showing that he's lying. He's not lying. It's a special operation. See, that's where people don't listen. You don't separate your emotions. You don't separate your feelings. And you hear what you want to hear. And you don't look at, when I say on the surface first, this is a special operation. Military operation. It's a unique operation. The whole thing is a unique operation. So when people heard me say President Trump said the polar opposite of what happened, you say, oh, you saying he's a liar. Never said that. Saying it's an operation. All right. What he's saying is proclamation that this is not real. This ain't real. All right. Then you let someone die. And when they said firefighter, then you go bash someone because, it was a firefighter. All right. God bless the firefighters because they're great people. But you let all your emotions and your feelings get in the way of laws and orders in a unique operation for a reason. History's going to account for it. Then when we get to a place where people can accept everything that took place, when you see the results of no more swamp games, no more taxes here and taxes here and taxes here and inflation here and inflation here and deflation here, but inflation here and deflation here, inflation here. When all the swamp games are removed, then they can tell people what took place and exonerate President Trump the right way and say, well, we had to do this special operation. When everybody's happy and winning so much you get tired of winning, then people will be what? They will what? Accept why it had to be a special operation. Accept why there had to be a visual this way. People will be able to accept it down the road. When people are what? Appreciative and grateful for the people who drained the swamp. The swamp rats. The worst ones are the ones that look just like you. The worst ones who say all the things you want to hear, and you follow them, and you support them, but they're actually doing the polar opposite behind the scenes. Right? So, President Trump said, they tackled me so that... And then the people out there bashing this female, they didn't notice that the female's doing what? Holding this ball cap in her hands like this. Why would you pick up President Trump's ball cap? You know how many of these he has? Do you know how many of these he has? Why would this Secret Service pick up the ball cap and that be a priority of guarding the president all the way to the motorcade. If you go back and look at the pictures, this ball cap, I've already broken this down before, but if you go back and look, this would not be a priority of Secret Service to pick up a ball cap if your president's being shot. If you think that, you need to quit now. This ain't for you, boo-boo. It ain't for you, and it won't ever be for you. All right, they showed you all these things. Blood doesn't rush this way either, and it wouldn't be just one streak. I cut my ear one day shaving. That SOB bled like a stuck hog. It bled all day. And I had to put a little thing. Thankfully, I didn't have to be anywhere. But I just happened to nip myself. I was in a hurry, and I was old school razor. I don't have a electric. I nipped my ear, and it bled, and I put a little tissue there. Thank God I hadn't seen nobody or be nowhere. And that little thing, it took forever to stop that little bitty nick. And it wasn't a big cut at all. It was so little you can't even see it. A bullet going across your ear. And then President Trump didn't turn completely perpendicular to the shooter. He did like this. Like if this is a podium, he did like this. His angle distracted people and also confuses people. He didn't look like this directly. He looked like this. That bullet perpendicular would have penetrated anywhere that skull. It wouldn't have grazed the top and kept going. To graze the top of your ear and keep going, you have to be looking directly at the shooter and the rifle. So, not going to break that whole thing down again, but that's just your little tidbit. Leading into Obama again. And then assassinations. Gerald Ford, 11905, that executive order is for assassinations. Ronald Reagan follows up with an executive order, 12333. It's called the assassination order. That's exactly what it's called. It's titled this. All right. So what are the odds that agitation and then the creation of distrust, assassination? Well, the next week, they showed the director of the Secret Service under question of Congress, and they asked her a question. They asked her, did President Trump receive the same security he would have had as a sitting president? She said, not as a sitting president, but what? Continuity of government! They tell you it's timestamped and proclamated that this is all a continuity of government military occupation, which is what? Under a what? Military operation. Special military operation. You got to listen. But you can't listen and apply if you don't know what? The terms, the definitions, the glossary, and then what? Be able to apply those to the unique blueprint. So all of a sudden, quote unquote, Obama is resurfacing. Now watch this. So they're saying that the liberals are saying that President Trump's acting unconstitutionally. You saw Jasmine Crockett, all right? I call her jive ass, all right? I'm like the white version of Fred Sanford. I don't care what I say, and what I say is just the truth. All right? If some person out there says I'm racist, then okay, I guess I'll have to be. All right? But so this jive ass, that's what that is. I grew up around ebonics. I can speak it, I can hear it, and then I write it sometimes because I write in slang. That's all ebonics is slang. All right? She says, I'm the one that's supposed to be the one that says that what goes on. She drops the F-bomb. So it's okay for them to drop the F-bomb, but when President Trump drops it, oh, he's not a Christian, and he's not this, and he's not that, and all these other things. It's okay for everybody else to drop the F-bomb, but when President Trump does it, oh, hell hath no fury. All right, so old Jasmine, old jive ass, it was recently somewhere, and this is all operational, it's all strategic, but for the people who don't know that, don't know that yet, old jive ass says what? It's her role as a congresswoman to make the effing decision. Well, for the people that think she's real, you might want to go look at Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. introduced by a Democratic House. There is an order in place for President Trump to be able to use the military anywhere. It's in the War Powers Resolution. All right, so old Jive Ass and old Bernie Sanders, who ain't ever held a job in his life, not one single job, drives around in like a Lamborghini or something crazy like that, Ferrari, something crazy, off the people who support him, lying to all these people. All right, old Bernie, and President Trump took up for Bernie. President Trump said Bernie got screwed by his own people back during the elections of 2016 and 2020. But President Trump said he got screwed by his own people, right? Because election interference. Remember this over here? All right, now Ron's over here. Right, so Bernie Sanders is saying, oh, it's unconstitutional what President Trump's doing. Well, you might want to know the Constitution. But they're actors and actresses. They're under a continuity government. They're under a military occupation. They're under the plan. You don't worry about them. What you do, if you follow them, especially you libtards, if you follow them, you probably want to know the Constitution. The Constitution is just a framework. It's not the actual governance. Laws are under the Constitution. That's the highest law in the land, but it's the framework. So then you have all these laws, amendments, all right? Then you have orders under the laws. Orders are what's enforcing the laws. So everything President Trump's using have been in the laws for years. So if the Democrats and liberals didn't want those laws to be enforced, they should have done what through all the past years? Abolished them. But see, they never dreamt someone would come in and take over their little swamp party and drain their swamp and expose their swamp. See, when good guys doing what good guys are supposed to do on the front, then the bad guys don't know who's blending in with them. That's why I tell all you people, quit judging certain people because you don't know who's playing a role. Especially those out there who judge me. You don't know. You don't know if I'm secret military or not. You would never know that. You would never know that. Especially if you're a bad person and I'm operating around you and you don't know that, you would never know that. Because what do special operations do? What do Navy SEALs do? What do all special operations do? Blend in. That's why I get upset at people out there who act like they're somebody with quote-unquote intel, and they use the word intel. Military intel don't walk around talking like that. If you're intel, you already have intel. You don't have to say it. You don't have to use the term. You just are. All right? It don't look like that. It don't even sound like that. All right? So you either are or you're not. And if you're in some kind of special operation, you won't be vocalizing it in the sense of going, hey, I'm a special operator, and this is what I'm doing. Da, 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 da. It don't look like that. You'd just be doing it. You'd be blending in. Especially if you're on a blend-in kind of mission. You wouldn't be telling people that. Because you wouldn't blend in long with all the little daisy maids we got out there right now. We got a lot of people who think they're daisies, but they're nothing but dandelions. All right? Dandelions are only fun for one reason. All right, other than that, toss it. So, or we could use the term, there's a lot of flowers. There's a lot of ragweeds who think they're flowers. All right, so a lot of flowers who are actually ragweeds. So you need to be careful out there. Don't judge people who are in operations. Now, Jasmine Crockett and Bernie, they're perfect because they play into what President Trump actually did do by laws. All right, so Obama resurfacing, saying President Trump's stuff is trash and this and that. Remember, you got to go back to what? Remember that magic wand he said in a speech? What does he have? Like a magic wand? He can just make all these jobs come back? What are you witnessing right now? What are you witnessing? And if the tariffs were so bad, so the people who want to go with the tariffs, what? Tariffs are presidential authority. President Trump put the tariffs in place in 2018. You'll see liberals all over Twitter, X, whatever. You'll see them all over X saying what? Oh, these tariffs are destroying the economy and they're doing this, that, and that. Okay, well, if they're destroying the economy, then why didn't, quote-unquote, Biden with the Democratic House and Senate from 2021 to 2023, why didn't they abolish the tariffs? Why didn't they terminate them? That's a presidential authority. The Trade Acts of 62 and 74. Go read them. All right? Why didn't they abolish them? Why didn't they terminate them? Not one single judge tried to block a tariff from 2021 to 2025. So if President Trump's a threat to democracy and all these other things, why didn't they abolish them and terminate them? They're not real. It's not real. Nothing you've seen is real except for the operation. So when you get to Obama, trashing President Trump, you got to go back to also what he did on what? Jimmy Kimmel or one of those, or Fallon? I can't remember. Kimmel maybe. Remember the show where he held up the phone and President Trump had made a tweet? Remember the mean tweets that everybody wanted back, and now they don't even know what's going on? So remember those? Remember President Trump, he said Obama will go down in history as the worst president in history? And then Obama said, well, at real Donald Trump, at least I'll go down as a president. And he dropped the phone. Ooh. Do the Trump dance, right? Do the Trump dance. Remember the Trump dance? You know the Trump dance? So watch this. I drag all this out for a reason, just because it's fun. But Obama. So Obama, in 2011, it's known fact that they took out bin Laden. And recently you saw Tucker Carlson scorch Ted Cruz on an interview. Well, Ted Cruz, if you go back to 2016 campaign, President Trump roasted him. He said, this guy's a liar. He can't tell the truth to Ted Cruz. Then he roasted him, said that this guy right here is named Robin Hood. He took money from whom? Goldman Sachs and Citibank, and never reported it on his files. The swamp. And now Ted Cruz is on record with Tucker Carlson saying one of the greatest things that took place was killing Osama bin Laden. Well, those of you who thought the quote-unquote assassination was real, burst your bubble. It wasn't. All right, it's all special operations. It's in the Special Operations Command Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide, page 11, on the Pyramid for Revolutions. It's all there. Above that pyramid, there's a paragraph that says, even if the United States government does not act, military can, because military came first. Military laws came before the Declaration of Independence, came before the Constitution. This is all factual. Military was established first. That's in there in that paragraph. And then also referenced in the 2016 Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide, Special Operations Command. Guess what's referenced in there? One, a government in exile, which would also be with a puppet government. Puppet government and occupied territory are in the same chapter of the Law of War Manual. Go figure. The Law of War Manual that was reissued 4 days before President Trump rolled down the escalator. Now come over to your 2016 Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide. Guess what else is referenced in there? Executive Order 12333, the Assassination Executive Order. And then, when you go over to look at Obama, spaghetti-o. Obama, if you go look at this Supreme Court docket case, I've been telling everybody about it. Go to Google, type in Supreme Court docket case search, comma, 23-939. Or you could just go to the Supreme Court docket search if you want to feel empowered. I highly encourage you to do this. Just go to Supreme Court docket search. Enter. When it pulls it up, go in a little box, a little search box about that long. Type in 23-939. Enter. Click on it. It's going to pull up about this long. It's pretty long. All right. It's all these petitions. You'll see all the dates. Scroll down to March 19, 2024. Now, there's a few entries for March 19, 2024. So you got to find the one that says three military officials. You'll see it right off where the date is in the middle. click on that one. When you get in there, you're going to see, well, the official Donald J. Trump versus United States government. Ooh. And then you go on down. It'll have the question there. And it specifically asked, can a president order SEAL Team 6 to commit murder on a political rival? And it tells you in there that a resounding, that means massive, means all these people in unison together. It says generals, combat generals, and senior officials who have all been in military and executive branches positions, resounding no. The last time a president and SEAL Team 6 were involved with anything together was Obama and Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden was quote-unquote killed May the 2nd, 2011. Now go back to who was Obama's Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013. Remember in the press conference, in the under oath, when she said what does it matter? What difference does it make? We need to find the answer. No, you are the answer. Hillary Rodham Clinton. You are the answer. HRC. All right. These people sold to Libya to a bunch of guerrillas over there. See, guerrilla warfare can work one or two ways, good or bad. JFK was the one who wanted guerrilla warfare established with our military, because when we're in control of it, everything will go good, because our people, most everybody in the military, outside of a few military industrial complex people, but most people have a good heart, want to fight for the right reasons. All right? So, there's that. So, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Secretary of State under Obama, sold Libya a bunch of Stinger missiles. You know whose unit that came from? You know why it's personal to me? Because it happened in my unit. Alright? You can't run a rescue mission with a Stinger missile. Helicopter is easy bait. A rescue, it's the only way you can really do a true rescue is a helicopter. Alright? For this situation that was happening in Benghazi. You can't run a rescue mission with a helicopter with Stinger missiles. Especially with a bunch of idiots who have control of them. Because it'll take out a helicopter like that. Those Stinger missiles are computer activated, computer guided. When they lock in on that target. You have 17 seconds to beat the Stinger missile. A helicopter cannot outmaneuver a Stinger missile. It just ain't going to happen. So when Hillary was acting like that and looking like that, it's atrocious how many people, especially liberals, will support these evil, corrupt, idiot, incompetent, which idiot and incompetent, at least idiot and incompetent can be educated sometimes, but evil and corruption can't. Guess who else was killed in 2011? Gaddafi. The man who stood in front of UN and the Assembly and told how Dick Cheney was friends with Saddam Hussein. Then they killed him. The man who said that you will be next by that America. Because this was in 2011. That America. That's why the divider line on November the 8th, 2016 is so important. Bylaws and orders. There's a military operation taking place. Everything before that was the swamp. And Gaddafi told the whole world, it's on video, Forever timestamp. This man's dead and gone now. All right. This man told that assembly, you will be hung next. Assad laughed at him. You can go watch the leader of Syria laughing at him. They were all laughing at him. He called them all out. He also said that this world cannot be ran by five power entities. He called out the swamp. He told the whole world about the swamp. He was on to the swamp. He knew who the swamp is and was. Gaddafi was killed 5 months after bin Laden, October 20th, 2011. This one Supreme Court docket case at 1 opens up all roads lead to Obama. It opens up everything under Obama, because you know why? All you ignorant, dumbass libtards out there, rhinos, Republicans, you don't want to look like libtards. Don't want to replicate these idiots. All these liberals, all these incompetent liberals, they don't have a clue that Obama's name is nowhere in the War Powers Resolution Act. Nowhere. So who acted unconstitutional? Who's acting constitutional? I'm telling you, man, like this is so it's amazing what's taking place. And it's atrocious though that you have liberals crapping on the graves of all the men and women who gave them the right to get out and protest and act like idiots. You're only as free as your surroundings allow you to be. Always remember that. And you're only free in this nation because of men and women like myself who have served and continuously serve and know how to protect our ideologies of our founders. You're only here because of that. So when you liberals out there, if you ever hear this, when you liberals, or if you hear your liberal friend, if you got any friends, I can't be friends with a liberal, but if you have any, then you need to remind them that you're only as free as your surroundings allow you to be. And the only reason you're here right now is because of the ideologies of those men who wrote the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. All the same people. So you can't quote one and exit out all the other. Why would you even want to do that? Why would you even want to quote one thing from those same men? Why would you want to quote that when their name's attached to everything else? You can't believe in one portion of their brilliant ideology and not the rest of it. So everything is there. And you see how that section 1550 under Title 50, Chapter 33 ties into your election interference and Iran. Because it was Jimmy Carter who did what? Executive Order 12170 declared a national emergency in 1979 with Iran. And Congress has continued that executive order with a national emergency, an emergency, a 44-year-old emergency. It was 44 years was the last time it was continued. President Trump is completing all these executive orders opened by the swamp. Their quote-unquote diplomacy. Executive Order 13611 with Yemen. Where were all the rhinos? Where was the Hodge twins? Where were Rogan too, I guess, and then also Alex Shaw. Where are all these people? Where are all these people when we bombed Yemen? We have a declared, you can go to Google, type in Yemen, United States. We have a declared March the 15th to May the 6th with Yemen. Where were all these people then? Where was Candace Owens? Where were they then? Why weren't they bitching, whining, complaining then? Oh, you breaking up MAGA, blah, 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 blah. Don't take unlawful orders. Where were all these people then? How is it that someone who claims to be a Republican says an unlawful order? Everything President Donald John Trump has done is lawful. Everything he's done is constitutional. And why do you people still support them? Why do you forgive these people? You're doing everything against what President Trump said. He told you the swamp did what? The cabal did what? He said, these people are so incompetent, they would fire someone over here in this department and then replace them over here in this department. You're doing the same thing that the president says not to do. If you still support all these gums just because they say all the right words and say, they never show you the laws, the orders, which are solutions. All this stuff that gets you all riled up, gets you fired up, gets you all negative, gets you all down, Debbie Downer, negative Nancy, and you walk around moping around all day and you think the world's falling on you and all this stuff. They did that on purpose to you. And then you allowed it because you don't want to put in the time and don't want to put in the energy and you don't want to do what? Empower yourself. Well, what President Donald John Trump's working with. It's forever time-stamped what he's working with. Forever time-stamped. And protected by his own executive orders of intellectual property. Forever time-stamped what the man's using. You stand in your way. You're the only person standing in the way of knowing what's going on. And it's not propaganda, and it's not drama. It's also not far-fetched. If it was far-fetched, then all the laws, the orders, strategic plans, strategic tactics, and everything, why are they still in place? Why is President Trump the first president to establish subterranean warfare strategies in publications, which is what's been going on in Iran and Israel? Why did all these people jump ship with Israel? Why did you jump ship? Why do you think you're an expert all of a sudden on Israel when you know nothing about what's in 2019 Army publications? Gaza, Egypt, cross-border operations. It's all there. Everything is in a pre-planned strategy. It's all there. It's all in laws and orders. I know it's like a broken record. Sounds like a broken record, but it's there. So you rhinos, you Republicans, you whoever, you don't want to look like a liberal. Well, there's one thing good about a liberal. There's only one good thing. They're ignorant, and they don't know that they don't know. And the ones who might want to know, who are just brainwashed and controlled, if they say, hey, here's what's going on, and if you care, if you actually care about humanity, and you actually care about the Constitution, you actually care about the laws and the orders, if you actually care, here's what's taking place. Rhinos and Republicans and conservatives are so bullheaded, some of them can't be. Some of them can't because they know everything, they think they know everything, and you're the ones actually with the entitlements and the titles and all this other stuff. Don't let that stand in your way of what President Trump's using. Now, if you don't like me, sorry. I love me. I love myself. I actually love myself. I actually love me. You know, I celebrate me every day when I stand in front of the mirror. All right, but if you don't like that someone is harsh, direct, straightforward, then how do you like President Trump? He's all of those. All right, and right now is a certain time period we have to go through right now where we have to establish this. We have to say, we're not going back to the swamp. If you're replicating the swamp, hell no. We're not going back to the swamp. We're not going back there. So when you replicate it and you look like it and you sound like it, then what's going to happen? The tough guys like me and the tough gals out there are going to do what? You better start reading and comprehending because we're not going back to that. And journalists, there's all this journalism, why it matters. Why people like me matter and what I'm talking about? Because of journalism. Until all journalists, until all publications out there are talking about solutions, which are laws and orders, which provide discipline, which provide structure, which is a foundation, until all publications are talking like I talk, they're all propaganda, they're all drama, they don't empower people. And the reason why it also matters to empower yourself, people ask me all the time, why does it matter to you? When we eliminate all these taxes, when we get illegals the hell out of our nation, when we reestablish how you're going to come here lawfully, when we get people who are here, who are saying that we're a nation of immigrants, when we get those people to realize, no, we're a nation of immigrants who became Americans, who bought into our ideology, who pay into our ideology, who do what they're supposed to be doing every day the same way we do, when we reestablish all these guidelines, that's why it matters. Then we won't be having incompetent idiots in power who are supposed to be representing us. When we start doing what we're supposed to be doing, then the representatives will be doing what? Replicating what we want and how it's going to be. And then they will honestly earn a paycheck from us, but it won't be getting stock information, trader information, all these other things where they all of a sudden become multimillionaires off of inside information, never holding a job, never doing what President Trump did. That's why idiots, these liberals, look like idiots. They look stupid. Sitting here talking about trying to compare President Trump being a real estate guy for all these years and doing what the system allowed him to do, things like filing bankruptcy, which is a business thing, and also, oh, well, you cheated on your taxes here. Well, you did it. You're the one who established it. So why are you blaming me for using what you established? So see, when we get all that straightened out and we get the power back in the people, when all of a sudden there's no taxes being created, a tax for a tax for a tax for a tax, because of incompetent idiots who are in quote-unquote power, who are supposed to be doing what? Providing wealth for people, creating jobs for people. What did they do? Oh, they just kept printing money, and then what? Taxing the hell out of you and I. The reason why it matters for us to stand up like this, the correct way, with the correct terminologies and the correct information, is where we never get back to that incompetent swamp again. And when everybody's bought in on this and everybody knows what the heck's going on by laws and orders, and you don't have to be a lawyer to know the laws, when everybody buys into that, we'll all live a happy, peaceful life. Life, liberty, justice for all. Remember, everything that we base our foundation on. So it does matter. But you got to have the correct terminology. You got to have the correct information. This is a spiritual warfare 1, and it's an information warfare 2. So you got to be careful who you listen to and who you follow. Most of these people are jealous, lazy, they want money, they want fame, because their message doesn't resonate with people. That's why they attack people like me, because their message don't resonate with people. They're jealous. They want the brain God gave me. They want the IQ God gave me. They want the message God gave me. I'm not using my message for me. I'm using it for you. So if you want to see proof, you have to get your lazy bum off the couch, metaphorically speaking, and put your head and your eyes and your brains into what President Donald John Trump's working with. That's where all the proof is. All the proof is in the pudding. The pudding right now are the laws and the orders of what President Donald John Trump's working with that establish a unique parameter, a unique operation. We don't want military to be involved with civilian matters. We don't want that. But Joint Publication 3-57, page 46, shows that the Constitution or the Congress can deem that, which they did with Section 1550, that's the Congress. All right, we don't want that on a normal basis, no. But it got this way because Americans stopped knowing what Americans are supposed to know. Americans left their foundation. They left the very fabric and grain of our nation. That's why it does matter what I'm saying. That's why it does matter that you leave all this other people behind. They're all drama, propaganda. They're clickbait. They're bait and switch. They bait you up and then they switch on you. All right, that's all they are. Consistency, communication, listening. Consistency, communication, listening. That's the key components of seeing who is authentic, who's really in operation, and who isn't. And also me not giving a crap if I roast somebody in the comment box or roast somebody when I have to. All right? Because they're missing the whole point of draining the swamp. The proof's in the pudding. In order for you to find the proof, you got to do what? Study. Read, study, comprehend, apply. It's all there. It's all there. And then Midnight Rider. Of course, this is part 2 here. It's also available now on audio on Amazon, by the way, because it's so long. But it's also available on audio. But 1 and 2, they're number 1 bestsellers for a reason. They're there for a reason. God made this happen. I didn't make it happen. This one's also a #1 bestseller. Country music, just as corrupt. They're just as corrupt. Same system, same incompetent people, same people tricking everybody, deceiving everybody because they want money. It's all about money, 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 money. The lust of money. So it's all there. Parts 1 and 2. You'd think that election interference, the average person would think election interference in Iran wouldn't connect. Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550 is how President Donald John Trump is acting lawfully with the War Powers Resolution Act of 1973 and all the other laws and orders around it. So I highly recommend everybody still reading. All right. My official accounts, now I have blue badge status on Facebook, my music page, Derek Jonhson Country, all right, which is also on my Instagram, what I'm live on right now too, Derek Jonhson Country, little blue badge, that's me. I got my red badge now on True Social, all right. So what you need to do is go to those pages and see where I put my link tree up, linktr.ee/1776nation, and I verify all my official accounts. There's a lot of people being frauded right now. I'm not talking to you on Signal. That's not me. I don't have Signal. All right. I'm not talking to you via email. Nowhere. Nowhere do I talk to you on email unless you write to me first. But I don't write to you saying some bullcrap about QFS and your wallet and all this other stuff. All right. If I'm telling you not to support people, I'm telling you via not to support here. I tell you vocally, don't support these people. They're all drama propaganda. What you do with your money is what you do with your money. That's not me talking to you. So I'm tired of hearing that, but I understand if they've never heard me say it before, then how can they see that it's not me? All right, so my link tree has all my official accounts, linktr, periods, where the period goes when you're typing it in. linktr, period, /1776nation. Enter. All right, that's where you'll find all my accounts. If you want these books by me, if you want them signed by me, then you go to rattletrap1776.com, rattletrap1776.com. If you want them signed by me, I still sign all of them. All my books are signed by me. I have CDs that I'm selling to because music is trash. Spotify's trash. They're all garbage. Pandora, all of them. They pay you decimal point 0033 cents per stream, which is horse trash. And so I have CDs for sale. You can support my music because that's my passion. This is also my passion, but that's one of my passions. I'm a songwriter. I love doing it. All right, so rattletrap1776.com. Click on Get More Gear. It sends you over to my merchandise, and it sends you to where you find the books. If you're international, if you're outside the continental U.S., or the U.S., wouldn't be continental, but period, Alaska, Hawaii, etc. But if you're outside the United States of America, you have to get on Amazon. If you are buying for a birthday or something like that, you need it really, really fast. All right? I highly recommend Amazon. Amazon's cleaned out, by the way. Bezos got hammered by Executive Order 13959 with a national emergency. One of those 8 that quote-unquote Joe continued. All right? Also the same as election interference. Quote-unquote Joe continued that as well. They're still active. Bezos was hammered. He capitulated. He donated to President Trump. President Trump has a store on Amazon now as well. All right, so don't be whining and complaining about Amazon anymore. See, if you do, that shows you don't even know what's going on by your own president. He has a store on Amazon now after Bezos donated a 2025 inauguration. So if you want the book, that way I can't sign that unless you meet me in person somewhere. So I don't sign all those on Amazon, but it's still there available. All right. And Amazon does stuff that I don't even know they're doing, so they actually have it pretty cheap over there. They got it cheaper, I think. But the other thing that took place on Amazon somehow, I don't know what happened and how it happened, but Amazon on part 2, the part 2, this one here, it's like $54 or something like that. They got it cheaper now. I think it's like $48 on Amazon, but it's not color. It's black and white, which is very important when you get to the actual photos in the very front of the book, if I can get there. But I had to go on there and create a new part 2 recently for color. All right, it's $74. I can't control the price. I don't know. Here's how Amazon works. They show you whatever you don't call it. It's not a graph, but they show you all the United States and all the countries, and you type in a number. They'll show you what it has to be between. They'll give you like a range, and you type in that number, and it shows all your profits in all these different nations. All right, but they have a print cost. They don't show you the actual cost. See, that's where they are, kind of little, But again, everybody who's been on Amazon, you know one thing. When you order, if you're a Prime member, that bad boy is sitting at this on your porch the next day. I mean, you got to think about where we are in technology. Imagine that you can order something like tires or even thing like that, and it's sitting on your porch the next day. You got to think about all the big warehouses you pass. You've seen some of them. I see them all over the nation. Amazon warehouses, they're huge. The robots and the people doing what they're doing and the drivers out daily. So you got to think about all the cost that goes into that. People don't want to think about that. When they yelling you're a grifter, they don't think about all the costs and all the operations that everybody else does to get to you. So the color one is a little bit more, but the more people who buy it, Amazon's going to stop dropping the price, because they know what they're doing, right? They have a margin that they claim they're in, but what they're going to do is drop it, and they're going to make all that profit. It's not me making it. They're going to make it. When they drop the price, they're making it. It ain't me. I'm locked in on a certain number, and it ain't big at all. So if people actually knew that, then they'd probably support me more by going to my personal site and waiting a little bit longer, because we order based off what we need. We don't sit on 5,000 or 10,000 inventory books. I order based off what I need. So there's that as well. So if you want the color version, remember that. Anyways, you have all that you need via the laws and orders. You have everything, and highly recommend reading, comprehending, and then sharing everything with your friends and your family. There's only one person who does it. There's only one person who has it. All right, and I love President Donald John Trump just like I love my own dad. My dad's actually older than him. That generation are unique, and they're businessmen, and they're goal-oriented, they're production-oriented, and they get things done. They don't care if your feelings are hurt. They don't care. You're either doing what's right, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, or your butt can hit the road. It's that simple.